office will open it, so you probably want to stand between all of us here so you can go straight up to the podium.
I'm protecting you. You do. She needs a minute. She also needs a minute.
Mr. Mayor, good to see you, man. Good to see you.
There he is.
Sheriff?
Hey. So the CFO's
Jimmy,
going
how
to
you
join us, so I'm
doing?
going to have him
Good
go
to see
after
you.
you, okay?
Absolutely.
All right.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
All right. Commissioner Manning. Who am I missing? There's Bruce.
Jimmy,
All right, Eric and Jason. There's Jason.
No, I ain't talking. I'm just
I want to remind everybody to silence your cell phones if your cell phone's not silent.
Just turn it off.
I got people got roof leaks. I can't turn it off.
There you go.
Jason's gonna hook you up on that. Okay, good morning. I'm Janice Gilley, Escambia County Administrator for Escambia County, Florida. I would just like to continue to express our heartfelt sympathy to all those that have been impacted. As I said yesterday, one of the good things about Escambia County is that we come together in times like these. We work together as a community, and we know how to help our neighbors. We know how to help those at our church. We know how to help those, our loved ones. So you as a citizen and those in the community, you're probably our most important partners right now. While we have a room of partners here that are actually working on logistics and operations to bring us back up and operational as a community, you all out in the field are probably some of our most important elements. So I would encourage you, if you have abilities, to please go and help folks, check on your neighbors, check on your loved ones, and stay in touch. I'm very pleased to introduce the folks that are here with us today. We have a wonderful group of people that are showing their concern for you as well, and they're all part of what's going to bring us all back as a community to where we were before the storm. I have Attorney General Ashley Moody, very thankful to have her. We have CFO Jimmy Patronis, Chief Financial Officer. He just walked in the door and was able to join us. We have Emergency Manager Eric Gilmore. I have Sheriff David Morgan. I have Public Safety Director Jason Rogers, Mayor Grover Robinson of the City of Pensacola. I have Commissioners Robert Bender and Commissioner Lumen May. We're very thankful they could be here. I have President of Gulf Power, Marlene Santos. She'll bring you some information from Gulf Power. I have ECUA Director Bruce Woody. And then also we're very thankful to have our Pensacola Area Chamber of Commerce Executive Director Todd Thompson to come and talk to you about businesses and maybe where we're seeing some restoration in our community. I just want to, from a county perspective, I want to share with you where we are in terms of our assessments, because as you know, we're past a little bit of response. There may be a few more active responses to some evacuation still going on, but for the most part, y'all, we're trying to work toward recovery because we know that's what our community needs at this time. So for engineering and roads, we are working with FDOT to make sure that all the bridges are inspected. I do expect, and the roadways, I do expect that we will have more information related to that at our 3 p.m. briefing, so please make sure you pay attention at that time. The county is inspecting all of our roads for safety and damage. Our facilities are being inspected. As I'm sure you're aware, electricity's out, water's out, and so we're trying to make sure that our buildings are safe not only for our employees, but also as you as citizens to come back and get our services. Then we have waste management. The good news is our landfill was able to open at 9 a.m. today. We're also looking at where we're going to put our temporary debris hauling locations, okay? Whenever we get those designated, we will make sure that you're aware of those. Building services. We are doing damage assessments of vertical construction. They're working on those this afternoon. We will also be pushing out information to you related to our licensed contractors, and make sure that if you are a licensed contractor and you have to go to Pensacola Beach, you must have the decal. We have those decals. If you don't have one, you must check in with our building services to get one. There is a list of licensed contractors on our on the DBPR website, but we'll also be pushing that out to you so that you can make sure that you are getting an actual licensed contractor to do the work. You'll hear more of that from General Moody. The jail. So we are still working with Gulf Power to restore power and electricity to our jail. We're also working with ECUA. Restoring water is a priority to the jail. We do have some different things that are working at the jail to help make sure that we have those folks in a situation that is safe for them, but I wanted to make sure that you are aware that we were still working on electricity and water for the jail. We would continue to ask our citizens, please, please only call 911 if you have a life-threatening emergency or you need to report down power lines. Our citizen line is still available. It's 24 hours a day. It's 850-471-6600. Our county emergency critical personnel are continuing to report to the office, and we also have our EOC fully operational and at a level 1. We would encourage you to continue to go to myescambia.com for the latest information. Also, check out our Be Ready Facebook and Twitter sites. At this time, I'd like to introduce Ashley Moody, our Attorney General, and let her share some comments with you.
Thank you so much for being here today and helping shine a light on the extraordinary efforts of the public servants here in Pensacola. I have been to many EOCs, and this is a remarkable place with servants that are working around the clock to help with the recovery after this devastation. Your state leaders, local leaders are working together hand in hand to make sure that we rebuild and overcome this challenge. Law enforcement especially. I've spent time already this morning with Sheriff Morgan, Chief Leiter. They've told me heroic stories, particularly one deputy who risked his life to save another. These stories don't just happen during challenges like this, but a light is shown on them, and why it's so important that we continue to support our law enforcement men and women that put their lives ahead of others to protect them, even during times of crisis like this. After a storm of this magnitude, after there is such flooding and damage, you will see a swarm of fraudsters and criminals that want to take advantage of a bad situation to prey on Floridians. I've seen it time and time again. Law enforcement is united that they will not stand for this, and I'm hopeful that the residents of this amazing county, the Escambia County residents, will report when they see price gouging to our office. We have a hotline, 1-866-9-NO-SCAM. Be on the lookout for extraordinary price increases or outright fraud. A lot of times we've seen people come in, promise to fix things, promise to repair flood damage, take a lot of money up front, and never return to perform the work. Be on the lookout. Make sure that you're hiring a reputable contractor. Call our office if you have any problems. United, as you can see here standing in front of you today, we will get through this. I know that North Florida people are resilient, and I am proud to see this EOC and the people working together here on behalf of Floridians. You should be proud of them. They're an example to everyone throughout Florida. And I will now ask Escambia County Public Safety Director Jason Rogers, who's in charge of operations, to come forward.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't look like Jason. Thank y'all so much for being here. Thank y'all all for working through the night to take care of the citizens of Northwest Florida. 16 years to the day that Hurricane Ivan devastated Pensacola, and it's so crazy. This storm was 1 mile per hour short of being a Category 3. We have deployed out 3 strike teams from Tampa, from Jacksonville and from Miami. There will all be boots on the ground. There'll be 100 first responders that will be going door to door. They will check houses multiple times in order to try to administer life-saving aid. These teams are built more of a swift water type environment in order to be able to make any concerns that may have with flooding, in order to touch base with people, to make sure their vitals are good, the necessary medications, or to evacuate them out. I will ask you also, go ahead, start your insurance claim process now. You can go to most of the insurance company websites, already have the ability to start the claim process now. You can also visit preparefl.com. We've got a hyperlink there that is specifically for Hurricane Sally. You also want to look out for if you've got any photos or footage of your house pre-storm, get that and gather that together. That will help in the claims process. The adjusters will come to your house. They'll want to assess the damage. Any photos that you have prior to what the storm at your house, what it looked like, that will help more of a black and white, a cut and dry assessment as the claims process moves forward. As the Attorney General stated, there will be fraudsters that will come out. We will see the absolute best in humanity, but we're going to see the worst in humanity. The fraudsters that will come up, if somebody asks you to do business and they only want to accept cash, do not accept their offer. You are better off not doing business with anybody who will only accept cash to do it. You might as well be kissing your cash goodbye. Our DIFS officers, we will deploy out strike teams. These are insurance fraud investigators. They will be boots on the ground. We'll set up a deployment here, and we will be in the neighborhoods in order to provide an extra layer of information and protection to ensure that you're not being taken advantage of. I can't stress enough how much I appreciate our first responders. There's over 7,000 linemen that will be deployed here in Northwest Florida to get the resources and electricity back up. We've got over 100,000 people without electricity, but it's amazing as these men and women come together, they will work through the night, and we'll all be better after this soon enough. We will come back better and stronger. But thank you so much. Any questions, visit preparefl.com or call us at 1-877-MY-FLCFO. Director?
I am Jason Rogers. The real Jason Rogers. This morning, as far as operations go, I'll just give you a quick update. As of yesterday at 2:30, we had done 377 rescues. We have completed over 400. I'm not sure where the number is yet this morning, so the pace is slowing down, but we are still in the life safety rescue mission business right now. We have more resources that are boots on the ground. For example, in Perdido Key, which was stricken pretty hard, we have Florida Task Force 5, the Florida National Guard, FWC, and our first responders are back in their firehouse this morning. Pensacola Beach, the firehouse is back open. Lifeguards are out there patrolling the neighborhoods, giving us a damage assessment, and they were all back online yesterday. Inland, in the city and county, we are working on our pod distribution sites, also the casualty collection sites, and getting people to shelters. All of the hospitals are up and running, receiving patients, and are working in disaster conditions, but they are all operational. We are continuing to stand up our volunteer reception center, and as we see the faith-based groups and the volunteer groups come in, we will be registering them, and we need them to register with us so we can track their progress, so we are not duplicating services. Critical infrastructure and key resources are our main focus starting today as we come into the recovery efforts. So as we intermix response with recovery, you'll see a lot of moving parts, and we'll have more information on that as it unfolds at a later press conference, and that's what I have. Next up to speak with you is going to be our Emergency Management Director, the awesome Eric Gilmore.
It doesn't look like
It doesn't look like it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Eric Gilmore, Escambia County Emergency Manager. I'm here to remind you that we are not quite out of the woods yet. We still have flooding of our two rivers, the Perdido River and the Escambia River. So the residents along those rivers, please heed this warning that we will see cresting or start rising water later this afternoon. I'm going to work with our weather service to try to anticipate the absolute crest and what peak we'll see. We're going to get that information out. I'm going to utilize some of the teams to go door to door to those residents today to make them aware of the situation that they are in. So please, we're still not out of the woods, even though we've got beautiful skies today, cooler conditions, lower humidity, and everybody's out working. But if you're on those two rivers, please understand that we are going to have flooding, and we're going to start seeing the water come down from Alabama that Sally dumped in the last 24 hours. So please heed that warning. One last thing, we still are in hurricane season. Just because we had our one doesn't mean we're done, okay? So peak was last week, so everybody still remain vigilant. Watch the weather, see what's going on out there. We do have a lot of systems out in the Atlantic, and we still have some low pressures out in the Gulf. So please watch what's going on and be weather wise. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Sheriff David Morgan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Escambia County Sheriff David Morgan. That would make another good phrase, though. You know, it's first 72's on you. I like one and done.
One and done? I'm with you, sir.
Everybody vote for one and done? You know, we do one? Okay. Just want to bring up a couple of things to kind of reiterate to folks what we've been talking about the last couple of days. You know, we've got the curfew in place here in Escambia County. We're going to keep that for a while because, unfortunately, as you've heard this morning, there are those who want to take advantage of a bad situation. So we're going to have law enforcement out in these communities in force. And as you can well imagine, as we evacuate areas, because we've actually evacuated entire communities. You know, one community of over 300 homes had to be evacuated because of the water. And this is the time when people want to move in while you're gone to take the valuables that, unfortunately, you had to leave behind. So, you know, there's a time when, you know, public safety trumps politics, and this is one of those times. And we talk about that in law enforcement all the time. We continue with rescues, specifically this morning, working with all of our partners at the state and local level out at Inner Point specifically. We still have people, you know, trapped in high water out there at this late date. So we're going to get some more flat bottom boats in and assist the Army. You know, thank God for the National Guard. They're here bringing all of their resources to assist us in some of the final rescues. I want to remind everybody there's a lot of lights out in Escambia County and in the city of Pensacola. A lot of lights. Folks, the law requires you to treat that as a four-way stop. So when you come up on an intersection and there are no stop signs or no lights, you're to treat that as a four-lane. Now, everybody knows when the four of us come to the intersection at the same time, who has the right-of-way?
You got the first.
Either that or the person on your right, and you rotate it around in a circular motion. So again, you know, a little courtesy will go a long way. One of the other reasons for having our curfew, if you're out driving at night, you know, we are so visual in the way we conduct our lives. If you're out driving at night and there are no stoplights up, you know what you will do? You will drive straight through those intersections. Mm-hmm. And so that's another reason why, for your safety, we want people off of the road as the sun goes down until we can restore power to all of these areas and get our traffic safety back up and going. So with that, I'll turn it over to our next speaker. Again, thank you all so much for what you're doing. I will tell you, it's working great. You see this, well, he's kind of older than me, so I hate to introduce him because he is really, he's kind of touchy about his age, but this Chief Deputy Chip Simmons, he doesn't have a speaking part this morning, but I will tell you he's my second-hand guy. And Chief, I want to thank you publicly for being the eyes on the ground yesterday. The Chief went out and assisted in literally in talking to people and calming the neighborhood, and that's what Chief Deputies do. You know, we've got a great one in Chief Simmons. So Chief, thank you very much for yesterday, what you did. And now we'll turn it over to Commissioner Bender.
Thank you, Sheriff. First, I would like to thank our partners at the state for showing up and helping us. I'm sure as Commissioner May's been out in his district, I was out in mine today. Today's really the first day that we've been able to start the recovery process. As you heard from Eric Gilmore, we still have the threat of rising water on our rivers. We are still conducting rescue missions, but this is now allowing us time to recover. So I do appreciate all the help that the state is giving us. Thank you so much for that. And being with our people today, they are waiting on the power and water. I know we'll hear about that in a second, but I'd say generally spirits are high. They know that this could have been a lot worse, and so to see neighbors helping neighbors, clearing the lots, clearing the streets so that cars can get through, that's what we're seeing in our neighborhoods. I'd like to talk a little bit about our barrier islands. Right now, both bridges are open. The Bob Sykes Bridge leading from Gulf Breeze to Pensacola Beach is currently being inspected. There is some washout under the southbound lanes of the roadway, and that will take some time to repair. So right now we are utilizing the northbound lane, two directions on the northbound side of it. You will need your sticker, an ID, or a utility bill to prove your residency to be able to get back on the island. We are also doing that at the Theo Bars Bridge to Perdido. So you'll need your identification or a utility bill to show the deputies that are manning those bridges. We will release more information as we get it. As I said, currently the Bob Sykes Bridge is being inspected. We will also be working on trying to get some supplies out to that, as ECUA is currently out there, I think, right now, or en route to inspect that and find the water main that broke and restore service to Pensacola Beach. So thank you for everyone, as we said, law enforcement, all the men and women that are out helping restore power in our utilities. So with that, I would like to introduce City of Pensacola Mayor Grover Robinson.
Commissioner May?
No,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not up for re-election, but since all these cameras are here, Grover, I will say something. First, let me thank our media partners for communicating and getting information out. We've had challenges of a hurricane many times, but never during a pandemic. And so there's been a difficult situation of communicating to our average citizen. But because of you, we've been able to get the information out. And I certainly want to thank our partners, Attorney General, State Attorney, CFO. Well, Jimmy, thank you. I appreciate that. But thank you for being here and our law enforcement. But I do want to assure the citizens of Escambia County, not only in District 3, but all 5 of our districts, that we will get through this. We're going to find ways in which we can deliver water, food, tarps. I've been through my district. It's very dangerous. So I want to encourage people to stay inside, only move when you have to move, and realize that your government is here at the local level working for each of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner May. Good morning. Grover Robinson, Mayor of the City of Pensacola. Certainly glad to be here today. Wanted to update you about some of the things that are happening in the city. I had the chance to go by our command center at the Fire Station 1, talk with Chief Craner, and I saw Chief Leiter is here at the EOC. But again, I've talked with both of them. We are not doing at this point any rescues within the city limits of Pensacola, but we are both fire and police. My understanding is are helping Escambia County with rescues and other services that are happening. Obviously, we've had some fires that have started as power has gotten kicked back on. Be very careful about that as things are coming back. And if you smell smoke or see something, please call us. I will say a couple of things. The airport remains closed at this particular time. They continue to inspect the tower, and we'll let you know when that's reopening. But at this time, the airport is still closed, and the port, as my understanding, is still closed as well. Obviously, at this point, we are down with 311, but please work with us over at Fire Station 1. They are taking in accounts of tree blockages of road, and also they are also taking any other issues that you may have. I know I just relayed some stuff to ECUA about a busted water pipe on Bayston Road. So again, if you see those things, please call us in. Even if you get to the city, we'll make sure we get it to ECUA. A couple of things that are happening at this particular time. We are out right now. We've gotten our contractors here. They should be back out, and they should begin taking out limbs and moving things out of the street. At this particular time, we do have our Public Works and Parks and Recreation. They are removing, but we're mainly on this point on main streets. So we appreciate your patience. If you're on a side neighborhood road, we will get to you. But again, we are working first on the main streets and then working back as we go from there. At this point, we have assessed some of our community centers. I know the speaker I'm about to introduce next is probably the most important in making sure that we get electricity back on. It's our main priority. I saw trucks coming down I-110 when I was on my way here. We have been working some of our community centers to get them up and running, so we have places for them to stay, for people to be in here to begin power generation getting back up. So again, all of these things we are working on at this particular time. We appreciate your patience as we work through it, and we hope to have things up and running. And I will say, I did also want to let you know, we have been talking to other people. Certainly appreciate our state partners. We've continued to work with them, and they're bringing along assets. I've also had a chance to talk with both Senator Scott and communicate with Senator Rubio via text. And again, they're working to make sure that all of our federal resources are here to help us. Also been reaching out to some local companies. I appreciate Todd being here. I've been talking with Whitney Bank out of Gulfport, their president. I talked with him yesterday. They certainly understand on the Gulf Coast. You understand understand if you get hit. They are bringing ice over and should have some this afternoon at Whitney Bank locations. So I really appreciate their willingness to help. That's what this is all about, what was communicated earlier. If you can help a neighbor and help them get stuff, we're going to get through this. We always do. We recover from these things. I mean, I can tell you the drive here, I already saw more traffic signals on, more things are coming up. So we're beginning in that recovery mode today. As Commissioner Bender said, this is our first real day at it. So give us a little bit of patience. We'll get it done. We'll be bringing electricity to you. And that's why I want to introduce the most important person here is Marlene Santos. She's going to tell you about how we're going to get our power on. So Marlene, please come in.
Oh, boy, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for that introduction. But first of all, I really want to thank all of you for the opportunity to address you. We understand how important electricity is to this community. It truly powers your lives. So we understand that, and we're going to work for you 24/7 to make sure that we restore power safely and as soon as possible. And when I say 24/7, we mean 24/7. Our crews are out there in the middle of the night. We made amazing progress last night. We have already restored power to 90,000 customers. We have about a little bit less than 200,000 customers out. Unfortunately for Escambia and Santa Rosa, most of them are in that area. As you know, it was the hardest hit area. Our strategy has been to restore, from the east to the west. So pretty much our east area is pretty much restored. We're going to be focusing today not only on getting that central area of our service area restored, but so that also we can then just completely focus on the west side. So Santa Rosa and Escambia will be our primary focus on tomorrow. When I say that, though, it doesn't mean that we're not restoring power here, because we're restoring power here. We have lots of crews here. We have already restored the hospitals, as you have heard. Today's focus on restoration will be to continue to restore our critical infrastructure. So the hospitals are done, but we still have water pumps. We have emergency responders, all those types of customers. And our next step will be, just our community. Right, our main feeder lines to make sure that the communities can have power, your grocery stores, and all those essentials. So that's sort of our process. To give you an idea, I know everybody wants to know when is the power going to go on. So to give you an idea of what we're doing around that, last night when we were able to get out, we started our assessments, and we do assessments in different ways. We actually have people that go out and assess our facilities, our lines, and all of that. This morning, we have several drone teams that are out doing aerial footage of our mostly transmission facilities, and then we also have 2 helicopters out taking a look at everything. So we have models, computer models, that actually do estimates of restoration times and all of that, and so we have that information right now, but I really want to wait until I have that assessment from the drones, from the patrollers, from the helicopters, and all that later this afternoon to be able to give the community a good sense of at least, when are we going to be done? When are we going to be done with this restoration? So our plan is to give you that information later today. And once we have that, then I'll be able to day by day start more granular information. So that's our plan. I know everybody would love to know today, when are you going to be restored? But that's our plan. And you're going to be seeing, lots of things happening because we have over 7,000 people working on this effort. You're seeing the trucks. I thank law enforcement for the escorts, and I tell our customers, traffic is a really big problem for us. Try to stay off the streets because that will impact our restoration. You do not need to call us. We know that you are out. We have smart meter technology, so we know that customers are out, especially at this point in the restoration. Only call if you have some type of emergency, and then if it's a real emergency, you really have to call 911. So with that, I'll just tell you, just very grateful for all the support that we're getting from the community, from our sister company, Florida Power and Light. They've given us over 2,000 resources, so they're en masse here and in Juno Beach, helping us. Most of our employees didn't have power yesterday, and so we had the staff in West Palm Beach helping us. They were their backups. So just an amazing amount of support from everyone, and truly appreciate it. And know that we are here for you. We will work 24/7 to make sure that we restore the power to this community safely and as quickly as possible. Thank you so much.
And now,
is Director Woody. Oh, I'm sorry. That's okay. I didn't know who was next to you.
We're going to stay on the theme of utilities for a moment. My name is Bruce Woody. I'm the Executive Director for ECUA. Certainly appreciate this wonderful representation of how this community gets together and works together. Pleased to be a new member to your community, and let me tell you, the light really shines. It really does. Really does. Little update first on Pensacola Beach. We have 3 crews working on that facility. We have a crew working on bringing the wastewater treatment plant back online. Concurrently, we have a contractor and another crew working on tracking down where we have, and we know we have at least one moderate to significant break, but we suspect we'll have numerous other ones once the line gets pressurized. So that'll be a little bit of an iterative process. So residents will see that water will come back, then it'll go away. It'll kind of go back and forth as we track down individual repairs along the line. But I anticipate some good positive progress today on Pensacola Beach. Water in general, I'll reiterate that yesterday we issued a precautionary boil water notice across the entire service area. That's because the volume of repairs we have are such that it isn't practical to issue individual notices for individual breaks. Once we get to a point that enough of our system has been restored and we're working on smaller areas, then we'll revert back to the more normal process. But right now we're still in an emergency response mode. Perdido Key is an area of our service area that's been particularly devastated, as you've certainly seen above ground, but with all the downed trees, that brings up utility lines as well. While we do still have pressure in the area, the pressure is low. But we are being able to access the area now and should make some better progress over the course of today. Wastewater services, all our the other 2 major plants are up and running and have been running throughout the storm. Actually, the CWRF performed particularly well. That's a new facility that was constructed after Ivan back in during that event. They are, however, running under generator power. Certainly appreciate the wonderful help we're getting from Gulf Power to prioritize the various facilities that we have that need to come online so we can move generators around to other facilities as well. Our over 400 lift stations out in the system for the wastewater system. 50 or more of those are running under generator power. Others are still being run manually, and we have crews that are cycling back and forth from station to station to keep those, but all of them are operational. Sanitation facilities, we are collecting today. Despite today being Thursday, today is a Tuesday collection day. If citizens are normally on a Tuesday route, today trash is being collected for the Tuesday route. We are not picking up recyclables. We're not picking up yard trash, despite that being a concern. Our priority is to get caught up and to address folks who are needing to empty freezers and refrigerators and those various types of issues as well. We also have an issue at our own materials recycling facility that we have to address because we have suffered some damage there as well before recycling will resume again. Our customer service staff are back in the office, so we are operating. We have some phone communication issues. So right now, if you have an issue that needs to be addressed, the Citizens Info number is still one of the best ones, the 471-6600 number that was issued or mentioned earlier, but also the ECUA number here at the EOC, which is 471-6612. Again, thank you for your understanding and patience. Crews are working hard, including overnight, and we're working to bring back service as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Todd Thompson, President and CEO of the Greater Pensacola Chamber of Commerce. Excuse me. First, I want to reiterate what was mentioned earlier. I'm going to mention some stores that are open right now, but please only go to these stores if you have a need. Don't go if you have a want. Keeping people off the roads as much as possible is very important to keep people safe and let these folks do the work that they need to do. Okay, first, some openings. Both Home Depot and Lowe's are open right now, starting 6 in the morning until curfew. The Target stores are also open in our community, open until 7. Those Targets only have dry goods. They don't have any power that can keep their refrigerators and freezers going, so they're limited. They have dry goods, but they are open. And all of the Publixes are open at this time. Some may have limited hours based on their location and supplies, but they are open. Walgreens and CVS, all of them in our community are currently closed. They are working to get those open, but they are currently closed. All of the Walmarts are currently closed, but I've been in contact with them as well. They are working very feverishly to get open, but they're making sure that they're doing it in a safe way. But as soon as we get that information, we'll be sharing that. We'll be sharing all this information on our Facebook page, Greater Pensacola Chamber of Commerce. We're also sharing it with our partners here. They'll be distributing it as well. That will be very fluid, and we'll get that information out as quickly as we receive it. A lot of questions about gas. I've been on a call this morning with the Florida Petroleum Marketers. They are compiling a census of our local gas stations, and we'll be getting that to me shortly, and we will be sending that out to the public as well. There's been questions about Gas Buddy, the app. From the industry, they say that's about a 50-50, in terms of being right. So I would say if you're using Gas Buddy, call. If you see a station is open on the app, call the station to make sure, just so you're not driving around town chasing gas. Again, we'll be sharing this information on our Facebook page, and if you have a business that is open and you want to post that on our Facebook page, GreaterPensacolaChamber.com, Greater Pensacola Chamber, please just post it on our Facebook page, and we'll get that information out as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So I hope you can all see the resources that we have, not only that we have in our community, but the resources that have come in from the outside to help us. I think everybody here had some good information to share. I know it was a lot of information to share, but hopefully you'll have an opportunity to maybe look this over again, or RPO and other folks, the other media, can help continue to push that information out. We do have a couple of folks that are here that are not on camera that I do want to recognize. State Representative Alex Andrade has been in and out of the EOC for the last 3 days, and we just really appreciate his support. We also have Supervisor of Elections David Stafford here. He has a big job to do, as we all know. Electricity is really important to him, so our poll workers and people that can help him, bring these elections off that are coming up. So keep that on your mind as we move forward. I would also like to take an opportunity to mention the census. This may be an odd time to mention it, but I want you to know that this is an example of why the census is so important. If you will fill out this census, this helps us when the federal partners look at our community to try to determine what kind of resources they can send here. We want to count every person. We're still around the 70% range in terms of our, between 67 and 70%. Y'all, we want to hit 80% or higher in this community. I know after Ivan, we had one of the highest turnouts in elections, even through all the devastation that we had. So I know that our community can respond during an emergency. So you can still do it online. There are other ways that you can do it, but please respond to that census. This is a perfect example of why it's so important. Two of the things that I like to mention to you is that, if you're running a generator, I always mention this as some of you are without electricity, make sure that you put those generators in very safe places where there's plenty of ventilation. Not in your garage, not even on a balcony where the fumes are coming into your facility. The other thing I would mention is chainsaws. If I'm not mistaken, after Ivan, operations of chainsaws and trees and things like that were some of our most number of fatalities. It was post-storm. So please make sure when you're operating a chainsaw, number one, know how to do it, make sure you've had some training, and make sure you have other people around you when you're doing it. So please be careful. A relief fund, and so they are doing that to help out those that have been, have had impacted and been had damage by Hurricane Sally. So at this time, we'll open it up for questions, and I think everyone here is available.
If I may ask, Sheriff Morgan, you were talking about getting some people out of Interrarity Point. I wondered if you could offer any more specifics of all, number of people, how deep the water, do you have any insight on the situation?
The water's not excessively deep, but it's too high to drive through. And some of our boats, we don't have that many flat bottom boats like a John boat. The Army Corps of Engineers is bringing those in, and I know actually want to give the Escambia County Public Safety the most credit for that. We are in an assisting role in that. Quite obviously, we don't have that number of boats and that many people dedicated to that, trained to be, if you will, someone who evacuates people. So would you like to speak to that too? When you say the number like 400 rescues, you understand that's not like 400 calls for service. That's 400 times. Because you go to rescue and you end up getting, like we've had several truckloads when we use the high water truck. So we'll go in there to get a family and we end up taking 12 or 15 people out. And so, you got to think of the multiples here. That's why we said we would end up with thousands of people that we literally evacuated. But public safety should probably speak more to that issue than me.
Yeah, and it's exactly the type of information
Yes.
we're looking for, trying to get a sense of how many people may still be stranded, what's going on right now, yeah.
Yes, so repeating the question, you were curious about how many rescues that we have done and how many boats and assets that we have and how deep the water is that?
Because Rarity was specifically mentioned, but if you even want to broaden it out, trying to get a sense of in specific locations right now, what's the level of risk for some people? How many people are we talking about? What's going on with these boats?
So the significant amounts of water that we're still dealing with are from the coast north, probably a few miles. So as the storm surge came in, that water had to go someplace. So I think downtown we're looking at 8 or 10 blocks that there was water yesterday. So that's got to go someplace. Also, the rivers are now, all the rain went up north, and so it's still coming down to the south now. So our storm surge was pushing water north at us yesterday. The storm is now coming south at us today. So we still are going to see some, water rising and falling in different areas. So it's hard to give you a gauge. It's, it may be 3 feet in areas out in inner area. It may be 2 feet, but you don't want to drive through that. So still affecting rescues. As the sheriff alluded, we've got lots of assets coming in. We've got the Florida Task Force. Yesterday, the Coast Guard was here with 3 swiftwater teams with large flat-bottom boats. Escambia County Fire Rescue was using their jet skis and our rib boats and all the things that we have, or Zodiac boats, and then all the high water vehicles, the sheriff's vehicles that we integrated with, the Army that we integrated with, and everybody working together. And that doesn't include the normal fire apparatus and the normal law enforcement officers driving their commissions out to get people when they can just snatch and grab them and get them to safety. So that's why it's a very difficult number for us to say how many we've done. We believe it to be up over 400, and I think that's probably a very conservative number for us at this point. Tracking all of those people, we tried to get them to a casualty collection point, and then from there, how can we get you help? Do you need to go to a shelter? Shelters are not optional, or shelters are not optimal to go to. So if you have help and you can go to a family member or a friend, that's where we're taking you. So the shelter numbers are not going to indicate where we're at with the rescues in correlation, because people want to go to some place of comfort, and that's where we want them to get to. So we're definitely up over 400. Water in the area is still anywhere from the deepest areas 6 feet deep, but you're talking about the tributaries still bleeding into the main rivers, and we're going to see water rise around those areas, and it's all going to run towards the coast. So we still have water on the barrier islands, and we're going door to door to make sure that we have everybody accounted for. So that is a local, state, and national response at this point.
Do we have shelters that have power to them now?
Yes, sir, we do. The Bay Center, which is our largest shelter at this point, had power restored to it. It was running on generator power. At that point, we had like 150. We're up over 225, I think, that spent the night there, and then still receiving people today. Its power was restored yesterday afternoon, and then help me with the school.
Success Academy.
Success Academy. Thank you. I keep forgetting that.
What's the address of Success Academy?
We-
Longley.
Longley, Walmart.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on our latest presser.
And it's not commercial power. It is generated, but it's fully generated. So
How about Brownsville Community Center? It was used as a shelter. What's the status?
Brownsville was used as a casualty collection point,
Yes, sir.
so a high and dry spot. We put it as a priority spot for power restoration, and we've been put on that list. So we don't have a timeline for that because it depends on what infrastructure is damaged around it to get power to it. It is on a high priority spot point for us. It will eventually be named either a pod spot or a feeding spot or something like that, but we have to make sure that all the infrastructure is there, along with all of our other shelters and points of distribution. We've got to get boots on the ground out there to see what damage is there, what resources we have. So we just can't say, hey, we're going to open up a shelter without sending an administrator of the building or somebody that's there with the keys to see what's there, what's wrong, what's not wrong, and what assets and logistics do we need to make it a viable spot for us. So that's the time that it takes to get those opened up.
That address for the Success Academy is 7045 Weimar Road.
7045 Weimar Road, and that's the address for Success, and that is an open shelter.
I would say real quick, several times in here, we've told you we're doing assessment. And so I think it's hard it's easy to say, well, what does that mean? You're not doing anything. We are doing stuff. We've got people yesterday we sent to every building. We're talking about community centers. We want to get people so that they can stay right now and get them up and running so we can get power crews here so they can stay there. But again, it's not just checking out the center. Then you got to figure out where between the center and where it gets power so that we know to get those spots done first, so those things come up online, so we get a chance to open those up. So when we say we're doing assessments, the assessment means we are fully getting everything done. I know the county's doing that. I can tell you the city was doing that yesterday. Even while the winds were high, we had people out. Our city engineer and our public works team was out assessing every individual building and getting that. That's why we said yesterday we're in assessment, much like Commissioner Bender said today. We are finally our first day in actual recovery. So again, there's a lot of work that goes into this, and part of that's just figuring out what you have wrong when you go into a building. That's the part that we're talking about assessment. I think we're pretty much through that, but we are starting the recovery. But that I think we wanted to communicate when we say assessment, what we're actually doing. It sounds like you keep throwing around the word. It's actual work. It's figuring out what's wrong.
So, and just to follow up with that, and Mayor, thank you for that. That's exactly correct. Not only do we need to worry about critical infrastructure at the site, but we've got to have roads that we can get big trucks in to get supplies to. So logistically, we don't want to put somebody in some place that we can't support them. So again, if you go to a shelter and it gets moved, it's probably because it was on generator power. We're moving it to a hardwired power facility that we can more long-term support people. So there are moving parts. You've got to be flexible in this. And I know it's frustrating. I know we can't move fast enough, but we have ordered resources, plenty of resources. In the first minutes that we knew that we were at landfall, it was going to hit us, we opened the lines of communication and resources have been ordered. Some of those have arrived. We had water come in for the jail, water come in for the hospitals. We've got the jails on generator power. That's another issue that we're trying to work as a priority. So as things come back online, you'll see more and more, and it will move faster and faster. So just keep that in mind. Your patience is certainly appreciated from that operational aspect.
Chip Simmons, Chief Deputy. Just to be clear, because the initial question was, I guess it was, why are we still in rescue mode? There's a couple different scenarios that we took on this thing. One was that when we got 911 calls to dispatch, then we wrote those down, we went out and saved those people. And then as we were going by different areas, there were people that were in second and third floors. They felt like they were okay. But the water didn't recede as quickly as they thought so, so they may not have needed rescue yesterday or yesterday evening, but now they feel as if they're not going to stay here for a couple of days. And I'm not saying that there was a question why we were, but there are levels to this, and I want to make sure that people understand we're out there, we're rescuing everyone that wants rescued, but then we're getting calls later on, a couple hours later when the water doesn't recede. I know for a fact I was out there yesterday, and we come across some people who were on the second floor, and they were fine. They were partying it up. Well, today the party's over, the water stays, and they'd rather be somewhere else. So we send whatever resources we can to pick those people, and we'll probably continue to do this because there are still neighborhoods that have a lot of water in them, water that we can't even get to in an individual car, and that's why we're so appreciative of the partners that we have. So maybe that gives a little bit of clarity as to why we go back to the same locations and even address people that didn't want rescued one day, but now they're in need of rescue.
Yeah, Laura, that you just.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
that was actually wonderful additional insight.
Yeah.
My question was, I wasn't so much with a why, I was more like just how many are out there, and I was assuming that it was having to do with the difficulty of getting to them.
You just
so
watched.
Actually, that's a wonderful insight both ways.
Yeah, you just watched the speaker dynamic spin out of control. Laura, there's anywhere between 2 and 6 feet of water still out in the inter-area point area, depending on where you go. We estimate there's probably still about 300 people out there, which again, we will go out and execute, a movement/rescue as the time, dictates. Again, they sober up, the party's over. It's now, the lights are not back on, so we really want to be someplace else, just as the chief said. Does that kind of define it back down?
All great info.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you very much.
Absolutely, yeah.
On the river flooding, do you know what times the rivers are going to crest and approximately how many people live in those zones?
So we do have a flooding map of the residents that'll be affected, so we do know who's going to be impacted. The time, I'm working with Mobile Weather to get definite on that, and as soon as we get that, I'm happy to push that out. I want you guys to release that for me, so we'll have that information out later this afternoon.
Do you know approximately how many people live in that?
I got to look at my map. I didn't count the houses. I got the map up, though, but I do have addresses in the map for that, so.
I got a question, Mr. Petronis.
Yes, sir.
All right. Jimmy, you're from Bay County. 2 years ago, Hurricane Michael hit Bay County. It was not an easy recovery there. What will be different this time for us?
So-
what kind of confidence can we get for our people?
So what you saw with Michael was a very fast, strong, wind-driven storm. With Sally, slower, but much more of a water event, not like Ivan, not like what you dealt with Ivan, but still a significant water event. As there's been 160 insurance agents that have already been put on notice, have been communicated with over the last 24 hours throughout the Panhandle. There will be boots on the ground in order to try to help people start to assess and start the claims process. But the great thing about it is so many of these carriers now, they're fully online. The dialogues can be started online. Their questions can start to be put in the pipeline online in order to be able to have those adjusters come in. There'll be contract adjusters that will come into this market, and these contract adjusters will come in, they'll size things up, they'll assess the situation, an estimation of what the damage could ultimately be and what that estimate could be into your cost of doing business and what the insurance company will pay. Again, this is all preliminary, but we will have an insurance help hotline. It's running right now. 1-877-MY-FLCFO. You should call it. If you don't know who your insurance carrier is, you should call it. If anybody approaches you and they're not affiliated with your insurance company, you should not do business with them. Make your first contact with your insurance company or us. That way you'll ensure that you're not being taken advantage of. There's a document out there called an AOB. When you go to the emergency room, you sign an AOB. That allows the hospital to bill your insurance company. You don't want to sign an AOB at the time of repairs on your house because you're essentially giving your claim to a stranger at your doorstep. Okay? So if you feel comfortable giving somebody at your doorstep a blank check, go ahead and sign an AOB. But I don't think there's anybody in their right mind that would want to just, a free will give their claim to a total stranger. So again, this is a tool that is a legal tool. Like I said, hospitals use it, but it also can be perverted into a manner where your claim can actually become property of a stranger at your doorstep, because there will be these gypsy contractors that will come through. They will try to take over your roof repair. They'll take over your siding repair. It'll happen with tree trimmers. Let me go and tell you something. Insurance companies do not reimburse you for cash you've paid across your doorstep. So whenever you're doing any business, I would document it, write checks only, verify they're a licensed Florida contractor. And Department of Business Professional Regulation, they'll have boots on the ground here too. You will have subcontractors that will come in out of state, from Alabama, from other states, and they will write under a Florida contractor. A Florida contractor will say, I will pull permits for you. Unfortunately, these subcontractors, these gypsy contractors will come in, they will do shoddy work, and they will be gone. Then your only recourse will be to go after the contractor who agreed to pull the permit. It will complicate things for you. It will drag things out for you. It will frustrate you. Your calls should be when you do need assistance and you need legal assistance. Call local attorneys. Call local public adjusters. But your first phone call should be either to us or your insurance carrier. I hate to tell you that grim of a reality, but it is what it is. But there will be, the good side of it. After Hurricane Michael, the church groups that came in that cleared debris off people's houses. There are Good Samaritan groups out there that will come in and make a difference, especially for those that are in trouble. Todd, I was wanting to double check. Publix pharmacies, are they open? That was one question I had.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and that's the other thing that we saw. You will see a run on your pharmaceutical drugs because of the struggle of trying to get your pharmacies back up online. Walgreens and CVS are usually pretty good. They will bring in trailers that will be mobile pharmacies in order to try to get those scripts in addition to Publix being open. Thanks.
I want to clarify before one other question, because I did just get a text that ICE from Hancock Whitney will only be at the Cordova office off of Airport Boulevard. It will be later this afternoon. They will have at Hancock Whitney will be distributing ICE. So it said all locations. I wanted to clarify it's only the Cordova one on Airport.
What's the expectation for other ice and water? What kind of timetable are we looking for those trucks to come in?
So we put the request in, we're identifying our pod sites, points of distribution this morning. We've sent those addresses up to Tallahassee, and we're hoping that we have commodities roll in this afternoon. We can stage them in, and we're trying to get those sites up tomorrow. As soon as we get that shored up, and we got the boots on the ground. National Guard is going to help us establish the pod sites. The manpower's here. We're trying to get the commodity in. So
Are the commodities still on its way in?
the commodities being, so it's going to be food and water at this time. There's no ice at this time. So it's food and water, and we're going to ask for tarps as well at this time. So that's going to be the commodities that we're asking for.
How many sites are we looking at setting up?
Right now, we're looking at 8 sites.
Rick, there are a few Tom Thumbs and Circle Ks that have power and are open. Yesterday, my wife was running ice for neighbors. She spent yesterday afternoon doing that, and so there are some places where you can still get ice, but of course what you're addressing here is we got members of our community that have been out of work, et cetera, that need assistance right now. So this is why the trucks are so critical for them.
As far as the yard waste, people are cleaning their yards now. Are they going to put it to the edge of the road? Just the very basics of what they should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, from the city standpoint, that's exactly put it to the edge of the road. We will be looking to work with our contractor. We've already hired them. They're supposed to be here. They're already, I think Keith was here earlier in Carroll, and they probably stepped out trying to talk to those guys and get them moving. So that's exactly the goal. This is one of the reasons also which we are not doing garbage pickup at this particular time, because we know there's enough things going on with trucks and everything out there. So please get your stuff down, get your stuff to the street. We will be working, and we have contractors that are moving. The county has their own contractors too as well. I know they got a lot more ground to cover than what we've got, but that's what we need you to do is get the stuff out to the street. We'll pick it up, and those things should be happening. From our standpoint, we're just moving with contractors that are supposed to be moving and getting that work done today. I'll let you talk about the county.
So Escambia County, we're doing a 48-hour assessment of our debris. As you can imagine, we have a lot of debris that we have to do that calculation on. One of the other things that we're looking at, I think I mentioned earlier, we are looking for those temporary sites where debris would be taken, and then from there, managed there. So right now, the assessment's being done as to how much debris we have. As many of you know, after Ivan, it was pretty substantial. Entire homes, those of you that know off of Gulf Beach Highway what it looked like. We just don't have those numbers yet, but as soon as we do, we'll be able to set those locations up and then have our folks start doing that pickup.
So when the 48 hours assessment start?
It started yesterday.
Yesterday. So by
We started.
tomorrow.
Well, I'm hoping to hear back tomorrow, which would be the end of the 48 hours. All right, everyone good? Yes, sir.
The part about the bridge status?
Oh, okay. Would you like to hear about the bridge status? I did want to mention that we do have FDOT out currently doing all of our inspections on all of the bridges, and then our county is also doing the assessments on all the roadways. I do expect to have more specific information from the state at the 3 p.m. briefing, but I'll let Commissioner Bender mention the other bridges.
Yes, so specifically I was talking about the bridges to the barrier islands. So the Bob Sykes Bridge is currently being evaluated, but we are leaving it open while that evaluation is taking place. we are doing two-way traffic on the northbound span. The southbound was washed out a little bit. The roadway was, not the bridge from our initial assessment. And then also the Theo Bars Bridge is open. Both bridges require identification to get across to show that you're a resident on the barrier island, but that could be a driver's license, a lease, a utility bill, or if you have the sticker for Pensacola Beach, that would allow you access to Pensacola Beach. Thank you.
Okay, I guess one more question about water, just for ECUA. Bruce, what's this? We're getting a lot of complaints about lack of water pressure. What's the cause of it, and what kind of timetable of fixing that?
That varies a little bit by location.
We're hearing a lot of it within the city of Pensacola.
Yeah. As mentioned earlier, we have a wide and diverse number of water main breakages. And we've been first working on isolating those so that we can boost pressures. First priority certainly being the three hospitals. Two of them right now are already in great pressure situation, West Florida and
Is that a pump issue causing the pressure problem?
No, it's less a pump problem than it is just a number of breaks in the system. It's hard to maintain pressure when there's that many breaks still being addressed. So pressures are coming up. Our biggest challenges really are along the coastline where we have some issues, but those are being worked on and we're making incremental improvements as we go. If there's a particular problem that needs to be addressed by a business, please contact us. But we have a prioritized list that we're trying to work on in terms of by zone.
Rick, I did ask that question yesterday. I asked the question yesterday at ECUA, and when they explained it to me, I mean, a tree root pulls up a thing. You got to break. I mean, all that just lowers pressure in the whole system. We just had one. My wife was walking down base, and she said, "There's one." She sent me the address. I just got it to them. So they've got a ton of those that are out there that are unexpected. You don't know what's going on, but small little breaks. It's 1,000 cuts that's hurting them. But the best thing that can happen is if people can get that information in so that we know locations, we can give them addresses, they can go out there and address it and get it fixed. That's what we need right now.
And what's the best number to call to do that?
That's the biggest challenge. We are down on 311, and we are scrambling to get that back up. Casey, do you have any?
I will say you can still submit 311 requests online.
Okay.
cityofpensacola.com/311. It's just the phone line.
City of Pensacola /311. cityofpensacola.com/311. Please do it that way. We're working with everything right now. We're trying to get the phone system back up and running, but that's just challenges. So at least you can do it online.
And for ECUA, likewise, all of our internet resources are there, customer services in force. A number you can call is not only the citizen info number that was given earlier, 471-6600, but here at the EOC, 471-6612 is available as well.
Okay, thank you. I just want to thank our state partners for joining us today, General Moody and CFO Petronas, and then we'll see you all again at 3 p.m. Thank you.